Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here with Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook on Tuesday the 14th of January. Now we stayed generally cold through the rest of this week into the weekend. Some day-to-day variation of freezing levels, still pretty unsettled with areas of low pressure moving through, winds often gale force, storm force at times on the mountains. Mountain terrain widely in winter conditions then, with snow and ice extensive on much higher terrain heading into the weekend. Subtle changes then further ahead as pressure begins to build. More on that in a moment. First of all, look at temperatures for the next 5 or 6 days, and this using the 850 millibar level. Now, through the middle of this week, this is the chart for Wednesday. We've got temperatures on the higher Scottish mountains somewhere -2 to -4, with freezing levels around 500-600 metres or lower in Scotland, around 700 or 800 metres in England and Wales. Now we get the next warm front try and come northwards through into Thursday, so a lift of freezing level particularly across England and Wales, likely to lift just above freezing at least, even to the highest tops. For Scotland, it may just get to freezing point on the high tops, although I suspect it's only a short-lived period before the next cold front comes through and temperatures and freezing levels fall once again. So by Friday, we're back, all of us, into a cold air mass, the mountain terrain once again widely frozen, icy conditions forming where there's been previous rain, and further extensive snowfall, especially across the Scottish Highlands. That cold air mass will stay in charge through into the start of the weekend, so most terrain is frozen through Saturday and likely through into Sunday as well. But as Sunday goes on, it's likely that we do just start to see a lift of temperature arriving from the west through the day, as generally milder air is likely to arrive into the start of next week. Now this chart shows you the ongoing snow depth, this over any given 6-hour period, starting off with the time of recording this Tuesday evening, and will take you onwards toward the weekend. It won't pick out every last detail, but it'll give us a general steer for where most of the snow will be, and it's the West and Northwest Highlands that will take the greatest amounts. Bear in mind, with the strength of the wind, that snow is blowing around all over the place, so in some places the snow almost stripped off the terrain, but then elsewhere some very significant snowdrifts may well be occurring in the days ahead. Notice then by the time we get toward the weekend how the snow lying on the mountains, even showing up a bit more across the southern uplands and the Lake District, as those freezing levels have come down again, certainly on Friday, with those snow and hail showers coming in from the Atlantic and across the Irish Sea as well. These are synoptic charts for the next few days. Then here's Wednesday. We've still got a powerful west by southwesterly wind across the British Isles, gale force widely across the mountains, storm force particularly in Scotland, and the strongest winds tending to drift southwards into northern England through the course of the day. So once again, a severe day on the mountains. We've got snow and hail rattling in to the western side of Scotland, almost constant snow, whether it's falling or blowing around really across the mountains, will produce whiteout conditions across the central and western half of the Highlands, less in the way of snow further to the east, and it's a scattering of showers following across England and Wales, locally frequent across the Welsh hills. Here's Thursday's low then, spinning in from the southwest with the risk of extensive severe gales across the mountains once again. We've got some snow pushing northwards as the warm front edges north across the Highlands, that becoming sleet and rain at lower levels and turning sleety to higher levels as time goes on, as that milder air just edges in for a time. And across Wales and across the Pennines and the lakes, more extensively turning to rain to higher slopes within that warm sector. The cold front, though, will swing in later on Thursday evening, so those temperatures will come back down. Those fronts have passed eastwards, onwards into Friday, so it's a cold polar maritime westerly that's back in charge. A bit of a complicated situation with various fronts and troughs within that flow, so clusters of showers, sometimes quite organised over several hours, other times there may be windows of drier weather. Most frequent snow and hail again across western mountains, where whiteout conditions may well prevail over several hours. The wind speed's a little bit varied, depends exactly where the small-scale troughs do occur. Squally gusts at times, and towards the far north of Scotland, nearer to the centre of that low, we might find that very severe winds are around at least part of the day. Now onwards into the weekend, and pressure beginning to build, notice, from the southwest, so subtle changes taking place. We're just starting to lose the very stormy conditions from the middle of this week. A front tangled around low pressure is still affecting Scotland and will produce some showers coming in from the west, maybe losing their intensity compared to previous days, but could still give frequent snow across western Scottish mountains through Saturday. Less of that further toward the east, and still the risk of gale force winds with that westerly flow remaining strong across Scotland. Lighter winds comparatively for England and Wales, with just 1 or 2 brief showers or snow flurries. The high begins to build in further across England and Wales, at least into Sunday. Quite a strong high, well over 1,040 millibars in its centre, so the scope to build some inversion conditions with time. We've got a front that's edging into the western side of Scotland, a warm front turning things murky, drizzly and damp as that comes in from the west. Got to watch the timing on that one just to see how soon that does arrive. It will start to lift those temperatures then. As we mentioned, a southwesterly wind could remain strong, gale force even across Scottish mountains, much lighter winds overall for England and Wales. Maybe some mist and fog patches at low levels, touch of frost is possible in the morning. So the ongoing story into next week is that high pressure is likely to build in, centred across the southern half of the British Isles, with a general southwesterly flow across the northern half of the country. So Scotland may still be bothered by a general west by southwesterly and some fronts passing through here, although perhaps with not the intensity that we've seen in recent times, as the stormier conditions and low pressure systems are deflected much further away towards Iceland. Now, it's exactly where that high centres itself further ahead that's then crucial in terms of the longer range forecast. I suspect, at least for a few days, it's quieter conditions with generally lighter winds for many places, some inversion conditions in the forecast for next week. So some banks of low cloud, some low-level fog, and at times the higher summits, maybe even into Scotland, getting above that inversion if the high can build that bit further northwards. Now, it may be that the high sort of splits into 2 separate centres eventually, not really shown here, but that's what some indications have. And it could be that if one of those centres stays west of us, we tip the wind flow with time back towards more of a chillier northwesterly. That at the moment is fairly uncertain, but it's one of the possibilities later on in next week. For a few days at least, though, I would have thought next week we'll see temperatures milder, lifting above freezing, perhaps by several degrees on a few days, and especially where you do find yourself above an inversion. Higher terrain, though, could well stay frozen with only a gradual thaw. That ground condition may well stay frozen for a bit longer, even if the air temperatures do lift above zero. So some pattern changes ahead onwards into next week. We'll look at that again in the next video on Friday. Stay up to date with all your local forecasts every day, of course, on our website. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.